Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Monday. It's March 10th. Today is day 521. I'm joining you now from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I have to say, tonight's the last night of our Pilgrimage to Peace tour, where we've been in the Southeast, in Georgia and Florida and North Carolina. And it has been such a blessing to meet so many of you, from Raleigh to Atlanta to Orlando. So thank you. Thank you that your churches have come together. We were in one of the largest Catholic churches in the area. And it's been so exciting to be in this broad ecumenical context of people of diverse theological perspectives coming together in Christian unity, coming together with people across different faith traditions. But being committed to the cause of advocating for justice, calling for a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire, and working towards peace together. So I do have lots of updates today. Mondays are usually big days, but some of the most significant news is that Hamas has said in their conversations with the U.S. government, there have been direct negotiations between Hamas and the U.S., and a senior U.S. official who held direct talks with Hamas said the group has proposed a 5 to 10-year truce with Israel. President Trump's hostage envoy has been involved in these negotiations. We have not heard this name a bunch. Adam Boehler. Boehler told Israeli public broadcasting yesterday that Hamas offered to lay down their arms during that period of 5 to 10 years, that they would not be involved in governing Gaza, and that the U.S. would take part in ensuring that no Hamas tunnels or militant activity would rise up again. This is, as far as we know, the first time a timetable has been offered for that type of truce. Neither Hamas nor Israel commented as of yet. Boehler said a new Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal could take hold in a matter of weeks. We know, according to Israeli news, that there are 24 living hostages remaining in Gaza, 24 living hostages, and that there are still the bodies of 35 Israeli hostages remaining in the Strip. Israeli media has quoted a Hamas spokesperson saying that the group has softened its demands. Haaretz quoted Abdul Latif al-Kanu saying, "We have softened our demands at the request of the mediators and Trump's envoy, and we await the results of negotiations. Israel's duty is to agree to move to the second stage. The talks are based on ending the war, withdrawing, and rebuilding the Gaza Strip. We agreed the Egyptian proposal to establish a committee responsible for managing the Strip and its reconstruction." So that was kind of the quote. Israel's decision to cut off electricity, which happened just in the last 24, 48 hours, to talk about resuming the fighting, constitutes a threat to the hostages. They will only be released through negotiations. We know that over the weekend, Israel did cut off electricity to the Gaza Strip, which of course means the distribution of water is a problem. I mean, the cutting off of electricity is a huge, huge, huge problem, in addition to the fact that we're now at day 9 or day 10 of humanitarian access being completely cut off. This move, Hamas has condemned as blackmail. Israel's mediating team is expected or has already traveled to Qatar today to continue the fragile negotiations over the remaining hostages. Palestinian news, the Wafa agency, reported that in the past 24 hours, hospitals in Gaza received 9 additional bodies of those killed by Israeli forces. 5 had been recovered, with 4 new deaths reported. Recovered typically means from underneath the rubble. Just to give you an idea of what Israel was talking about over the weekend, there was a cabinet meeting. There were also changes and mobilization of the Israeli army. This is really serious. So as on one hand, there's a conversation that there could be a ceasefire deal any day now, Israel announced the position of a new IDF spokesperson. That person is, I think, Brigadier General Effie Defrin, who's replacing the Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, following an orderly and professional transition, according to the IDF. But last week, there was a huge storm over this in Israel. Apparently, the Brigadier General Daniel Hagari was ousted and pushed another issue out of public discussion, one that has serious implications. So apparently there was a plan devised by the new Israeli Defense Forces Chief of Staff. His name is Zamir, Eyal Zamir, Eyal, and Zamir is his last name, for an extensive assault on Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So the new Chief of Staff for the IDF, Zamir, is accelerating preparations for an ambitious plan. And I want to just take a minute and tell you about this. If he's given the green light, it will lead to more decisive results, analysts have said. These are analysts from Israel, but moving forward is less dependent on the government and on two other issues: progress in terms of negotiations over a hostage deal and what the US's response would be. So Zamir took office on Thursday. He went as expected to visit the Southern Command and the Gaza Division first. And his plan involves operations in several divisions inside the Strip. This means that Israel has made preparations to re-enter Gaza, depending on what happens in terms of the ceasefire and negotiations. This would mean remobilizing tens of thousands of reservists in Israel. The objective, this is according to Israeli news, would be very aggressive, an extensive assault, apparently along the entire front. It would hit Hamas's military infrastructure, the existing one and the one that's being rebuilt. This time, the civilian population would be moved to secure areas, but Israel would manage the distribution of aid. I mean, God help us. And I mean that literally. Right now, Israel is managing the distribution of aid, and there's no aid being distributed. It's been completely shut off, and the civilians in Gaza are suffering the consequences. On the other side, there's accumulating evidence that Hamas is reorganizing. There's increasing signs that they're wielding civilian and military control. There's evident a demonstrative presence. Hamas has armed men in the streets of Gaza. Israel is arguing that they're exploiting the ceasefire that took place in mid-January, and that Hamas is setting up booby traps in buildings, along roads, amongst the entire enclave, that they're using explosives from the Israeli military and unexploded bombs that were dropped by the Air Force, over the last 15 months. So over the weekend, this past week, the Israeli cabinet met. Israel threatened, as we know, and this was also leaked to the Wall Street Journal on Saturday, where the Wall Street Journal reported that the IDF has made plans that include a ground maneuver in Gaza. Finance Minister Smotrich claimed the next steps would be cutting off electricity and the water supply, as was discussed. And we know that happened this weekend. The electricity, water, is cut off, when you don't have electricity. Airstrikes and the evacuation of the population in North Gaza are expected to follow, along with the invasion of the Palestinian territory. So that's the step we've not gotten to yet. Also, in the past 24 hours, police questioned a protester who was repeatedly reading the names out loud of hostages who were held in Gaza by Hamas through a loud hailer outside of a Knesset member's home in Tel Aviv. So that's news from Israel. I'm going to shift to Syria. Syria's defense ministry announced that it completed military operations to fight the remnants of the former ousted President Bashar al-Assad's forces. We've been talking about how more than 1,000 people were killed in Syria over the past few days. Hassan Abdul Ghani, Syria's defense ministry spokesperson, said in a statement on social media that the end of the military operation against remnants of the public institutions were now able to resume their work and provide essential services, paving the way for a return to normal life and the consolidation of security and stability. I'll just say we have heard that that is not the case. We have heard Christians contacting family members asking if they can help them get out of Syria, because the Alawites, who are the Muslim sect of which Bashar Assad's regime, Bashar Assad was a part of that, were attacked, and now Christians have been attacked. And there's great concern about what might come next. So the government in Syria is saying that things have settled, but news on the ground is indicating perhaps a different story. The patriarchs of Syria sent out a plea, and now not only are Assad supporters, the Alawites, being killed, but Christians are being targeted and fearing for their lives as a result of the unrest of the past few days. You'll see CMEP's statement tomorrow if you are signed up for our newsletter. I wanted to let you know, in the US, there was a huge story about a student from Colombia who reportedly has a green card and that his visa was revoked. Agents told him this. even though he had a green card. The agent said that both his visa and the green card was revoked. And on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security detained him. His name is Mahmoud Khalil, a recent Columbia University graduate who helped lead the Gaza Solidarity Encampment. He lives in New York City. According to advocates, at 8:30 over the weekend at night, Khalil and his wife, who's 8 months pregnant, unlocked the door to their building, and two plainclothes DHS agents pushed inside behind them. The agents allegedly did not identify themselves first, but instead asked for Khalil's identity and then detained him. The agents claimed that the State Department had revoked his visa and green card. Khalil, according to advocates, they said that his wife went to the apartment to get the green card. As of last night, Khalil had been detained in Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE custody in downtown New York, pending an appearance before an immigration judge. Greer said, which maybe that's the attorney, this is from a certain article, said that they do not know or did not know his precise whereabouts. They were told that he was sent to a facility in Elizabeth, New Jersey. His wife tried to visit, but then was told he was not there. And it was reported that he could have been transferred as far away as Louisiana. But tonight, just before recording at about 9 p.m., I learned that a district court judge ordered that the Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil cannot be deported from the United States, as protesters have called for his release. Judge Jesse Furman said Khalil is to remain in the U.S. to preserve the court's jurisdiction as the court weighs a filing challenging his arrest and planned deportation. A hearing was scheduled for Wednesday at federal court in New York City. Hundreds of demonstrators rallied today demanding his release. President Trump said Khalil was the first of many arrests to come. So that's news from today. Many things happening, but our efforts are not in vain. Do not give up hope. Continue to engage. I hope that you're pilgrimaging on Gaza ceasefire pilgrimages as we continue in this Lenten season. May God go before us in the name of Christ. Amen.